What's up, guys? We are back with another review. We're taking a look at something from Fury Toys today. The folks over at Bombusbee sent this guy over. This is Fury Toys Azure Lion, and this is not like an in-house line or brand or anything like that specifically. It is their take on the Azure Lion from the Sun Wukong storyline and mythology, the Journey of the West, that kind of stuff. So if you're familiar with that, you understand somewhat, I guess, of where the inspiration for this big old guy comes from. Now, as far as packaging goes, it's somewhat premium, but also kind of basic at the same time. There's this very traditional Chinese sort of, artwork that wraps around this outer chipboard packaging, and then you've got the lion there himself embossed on the front. But the actual box itself is really just like a black box. So you've got a black box here with a little bit more decoration on it, and then the figure there in that window, but he's covered in plastic to keep him safe, so he's kind of obscured. You can't really see too much about what's going on in there. So yeah, let's do it. Let's pull him out and take a look. And here we go, out of the package, our Fury Toys Azure Lion. So again, this guy is from the Sun Wukong mythology. It's obviously going to be, very Chinese mythology inspired. It's quite clear by looking at some of the armor this guy has on. Even if you don't know the story or where this thing comes from, it's a cool lion guy in a really gaudy set of gold armor. He's huge, he's beefy, covered in sculpt and paint and just, dripping with detail, really. So let's see what this guy can do, see how he moves around. He moves surprisingly well. Well, maybe not surprisingly well, but it's kind of one of those things where when you get it in hand, you realize he does move a lot better than something of this size with all this stuff on it might normally move. So we've got an interesting head setup here for sure. It's very different. So the head can look up some, and then he can look down because of these plates. So he's got, there's the head. You've got this fur collar that sits around him, and then you've got the actual face itself. So the head is not really a normal head. So these pieces move independent. So at the same time, the head doesn't really twist all the way because there's so much stuff going on, but because of how these plates move with that ball peg, it allows him to really look off to the side in a fairly natural way. Like the head is crooked and it is sort of, just looking outward, not necessarily turning your head 90 degrees like we don't typically do. I do like that. It is kind of odd at first and I wasn't really sure what was going on, but it's very easy to pose now. Arms go out at the shoulder. Of course, they will rotate. There is a bicep swivel here at the arm. You've got somewhat of a butterfly joint in there. It's not that useful, but it does help to get his arms out across him a bit. One thing it's articulated, but it's not part of the figure. This armor is separate, but the actual pauldron itself has a hinge that connects to this bicep pad, which I think is pretty cool. It does help. I'm still not the biggest fan of these kind of pads that don't connect to the body because they always move, but that's just a pet peeve thing. We've got double jointed elbows, so there's pretty good range on these. And then you've got ball pegs for the wrist. So these are just standard ball pegs. It's a barbell, so up and down, in and out, and side to side. All that good stuff. We've got a torso with a diaphragm cut, so it allows some tilt side to side. It's a rotation point. It's also part of your crunch. And then there is a ball peg waist that affords a little bit more crunch, so he can kind of crook forward down like that. You do have a tail back here. This is a super bendy tail too. This thing has a lot of posability on it, so there's a lot of potential there. It's just a ball peg that pegs in, and then you can rotate it from there. The legs on this guy go out pretty far. This armor is all really, really mobile. So these pieces, they are actually sewn onto the fabric, so they don't actually get in the way. They move and flow with the soft goods rather than getting in the way. So if this moves, then everything gets out of the way. Really simple, works very, very well too. Legs kick forward, they kick backwards. They actually kick backwards better than they kick forwards. You've got a thigh twist up there. We've got double jointed knees. They go all the way back. It's kind of an awkward look, but they go all the way back. And then the weirdest aspect of this guy is the feet. So he is sort of like a digitigrade character, so something that walks on its toes, but not like a normal one. He actually has a little bit of a foot back here. So you have this initial ankle, which doesn't really do much more than hinge, and it swivels, it rocks a little bit, but the rock doesn't help you too much. You do still have a hinge at what would be the toe, but you also have a swivel or rocker rather at the toes itself. And this really surprisingly will help you to get him balanced on these feet. I was really concerned that he didn't have rocker as a result of some of this stuff, but the little that the ankle rocker, the actual true ankle rocker does, coupled with this, actually allows him to pose and keep his feet very, very flat on whatever surface you've got on. And then he's just there, because he actually does have quite a bit of real estate to stand on. It's just sort of awkward at first. It worked far better than I expected it to. So he does move. I mean, he moves really well. He's not perfect everywhere, for sure. The head definitely has some kinks to it, and overwhelmingly, I don't think the butterfly joints work all that well, or they don't really add a whole lot to him. But the rest of this figure, especially for how big he is, and the fact that he's covered in all this stuff, I think he moves surprisingly well. Now, as is the case with, well, I don't know, probably too many figures at this point, my main focus for this guy pretty much instantly, became, well, everything you see here. Because while he does move really well and there's some surprising level of range and articulation with this guy, this is another instance of a figure from a company that I truly don't have that much experience with. I know about them. I'm aware of some of the stuff they've made. But they're putting out stuff that looks like this at a price point that you just really can't beat from damn near every other line, be that a Japanese company or an American company. Like, you're just not going to see this level of detail. You know, and obviously I deal with like Horseman stuff all the time. And even this, like, there's just so much more here than what you'd get in the majority of every other line out there. A lot of this stuff really makes me think that Chinese companies are absolutely coming to eat the lunch of everybody in the toy space, because I'm going to be hard-pressed to say really anything negative about the way this thing looks, outside of the fact if you just plain don't like the design, or this isn't your cup of tea, you're going to love every single aspect of this figure. He is covered from top to bottom in tremendous levels of detail, tons of sculpt, tons of paint. Some of the armor is removable. You've got an interesting system for this head faceplate thing. We've got varying levels and degrees of soft goods, but everything on this figure is just, you know, he's just oozing with detail. There's so much going on. And again, obviously he is, you know, heavily Chinese mythology inspired. So that really comes through in a lot of the armor, specifically this like big girdle belt piece. There's just so much in there, so much detail and intricate sculpt. I love the pauldrons that he has. I, again, really love the way they work. I'm still not the hugest fan of shoulder armor, or, you know, arm armor, bicep armor, I guess, that actually just cinches around the arm, because it always falls down. But I love the way these pauldrons work. I love the hinge aspect of them. I just really like that. It's easy to use, and it doesn't get in the way of anything. You've got wired soft goods for the little belt sash pieces. We've got, again, you know, I'm going to kind of harp on these, you know, something like this. The armor for the thighs is on the soft goods. It's stitched in, again, you know, to mention it again, and it just works. We've got yet another soft goods piece. We've got a cape back here. You don't have to use this. These pauldron type things, the shoulder back armor, whatever you want to call it, actually connects to the collar around his neck, and then you can use it or not. You don't have to. So if you're not as into the soft goods, you don't have to put every single thing on this guy. But if you are, I mean, this is kind of the complete look. He's fully kitted out, covered in armor. Some of it's removable. You can, you know, make him more of a lion man than just an armored lion man if you want to do that. But you're going to lose out on a lot of detail if you do that, I think. The armor, specifically the pauldrons, the bicep armor, the waist armor, everything is just covered in detail, covered in sculpt. Tons of paint on this figure too, specifically on the chest. There's a lot on the arms, but then all of this armor has some level of paint on it, be that a dry brush or wash or, you know, purposefully implemented paint details. There is tons of stuff to just sort of look at and kind of ooh and ah over. I really like the way this figure turned out, if it's not obvious. I'm not the most knowledgeable guy about the Sun Wukong mythology or really anything related to this guy. So for me, he is just a cool looking toy for the sake of being a cool toy. And I think it really excels at that. If you love the source material or where this thing comes from, you're probably going to like it even more. But even if you don't, there's a ton of stuff to take into consideration here, from the level of detail, the amount of paint, the size, the heft, you know, this crazy mane of fur that he's got here. I do love the faceplate system that he has. It's just an interesting way to kind of make that work. I love the little snarl that's on this face, and there is an accessory that we'll talk about that is kind of useful for that. So I love that he doesn't have just the stoic expression. He does have a little bit of personality there. And then just to really showcase it again, he is a really big figure. So here he is with well, it's a Cosmic Legions, but a standard style of Cosmic Legions figure to give you an idea of exactly how big he is. So he's about, 9 inches tall, but then he's got all of that bulk in addition to that to really make for a very beefy, very shelf presence heavy kind of figure. Now, as far as accessories goes, there's some varied things here. Of course, there's already a few things on this guy that I've kind of talked about that you don't actually have to use, like the back pauldron things, if that's, I don't know what the best way to call them. And then you've got the cape as well. He does, of course, like I mentioned, come with an extra face. So you've got the sort of, basic, slightly snarling face, but then you've got a full-on screaming, roaring face as well. I really like this one. I mean, it's obviously very expressive. So you've got two options when it comes to that. Both of these faces also feature a magnet that has the ability to use this like crown with it, so it'll just sit there on him. I kind of like it, but I kind of don't. I'm not sure where I stand on this just yet because I feel like it looks a little odd on him, but it also does break him up a little bit with all of that hair, and it gives you another pop of gold to kind of flow with the rest of the armor, but you've got the option. You don't have to use it. We do get a bunch of hands with him, so he's got these very like expressive, battle-ready kind of hands. I don't know a better way to describe those. You've got a set of gripping hands. You've got a set of these with a very, very tight 3-finger grip, and I'll show you what this is going to be for here in a second. We've got this sort of, gesturing, posturing kind of hand. You get a set of those. You get a set of cupping style hands. And then you get another set that's similar, but it's a full-on like open palm with the thumb kind of crooked out hand. So he does come with 12 total hands, 10 on top of the 2 that he's got in the box. You get this monster sword with some real metal rings on it. Tons of detail on this thing. Of course, it is colored and themed to fit his armor. It does seem very like traditional Chinese, historical type of weaponry, obviously just in a very large size. This handle will come off, and you can replace it with this to give him like a halberd type of weapon, or a pole arm, whatever you want to call it. So you've got 2 options with that, but he doesn't come with 2 different weapons. It's one or the other based on which handle you're going to use, but that's cool. I do like the option here. And both of them are fairly ornate with a lot of sculpt in the handles and of course on the blade itself. And then he also comes with this like bone bowl. This has to be related to the Sun Wukong mythology and where this guy comes from. I'm not going to claim that I'm well versed in that at all, but it does look really good. There's all sorts of skulls and stuff all over it. And then he's also got this little bone, which is what this hand is for. So you can have him kind of grasp this. I'm almost positive this is supposed to be used as like a toothpick or something, and that's what I intend to use it for. If I do something like that, you can put this kind of up against that snarled face, and it looks like he's like, picking something out of his teeth with a bone from his enemy or something like that. So, he's got a bunch of stuff. It's not an overwhelming amount of accessories, but I feel like it's just enough to give him really everything he needs. He's got 2 options for really cool weapons. You've got a cape, you got 2 faces, and you have an insane amount of hands as well. So yeah, overall, I'm really happy with this guy. It's again one of those kind of figures that, even if you don't really have an attachment to or care about the source material or anything about where this guy comes from, it's one that you can appreciate just for the sake of being a cool toy. It moves well. It looks amazing. I really can't stress that enough. In hand, this thing is just oozing detail all over. Comes with a great array of accessories, and you should be able to fudge him into pretty much any kind of fantasy display that you're working with. I know he's going to work well with certain mythic legions and kind of, in that same arena of things. So overall, I'm really, really happy with this guy. Really curious now to check out more from this line as well. So that's going to do it for this look at the Fury Toys Azure Lion. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.